What is your relationship with time? Are you wired and tired, stressed and overwhelmed, busy and going nowhere? Or just want to scale your business? Welcome to Take Back Time with your host, Penny Zenker. Penny focuses on books, strategies, tools, and tips to help you work smarter and approach your time more strategically. As a result, you can have more energy, focus, and get more done in less time. Be more efficient and effective. Get ready to take back time.
Hello, and welcome to this episode of Take Back Time. My name is Penny Zenker, and I'm your host. Today, we're going to talk about how to break down the walls of success. We all play that tug-of-war with time due to unproductive habits that keep us from maximizing the tools and resources that we have available to us. So today, we're going to speak with Bearj Jehanian about his new book, Break Down the Walls of Success. And he's going to share with us 3 key factors for success and what order to put them in. Without further ado, let's get started. I'd love for you just to let people know, who are you, what are you about, and then we'll go from there.
That's a really great question. I'm glad I get to do the introduction because This is not something I get to write down. Usually, someone reads an introduction and it's one of those stereotypical intros for a person. But I'm going to tell you something about who I'm not. And I think that speaks a lot to who I am because I'm not the guy whose arm got stuck in a canyon and I had to cut it off. I'm not the person who swam across some ocean somewhere and had to swim with the sharks. I'm not the person who got to the top of Mount Everest. I'm not the person who almost froze to death because they got lost and found their way back. I'm not that person. I'm like every other person. I'm not that normal person out there that wanted to escape the doldrums of life, that wanted to have more, that wanted to live into their best self, that wanted to become that person that they always knew they could be. I didn't have to go through some great adversity to do it. I'm just like everybody else. And that's what I think is really important to me when I speak, that I can connect with people because I'm just like them. I didn't do this spectacular thing that everyone in the audience is entertained by listening to, but when they leave, they think, well, that didn't happen to me. I don't have those things to overcome. It doesn't really speak to me.
Right. So you're just a relatable guy like every single one of us.
That's what I'm talking about. I'm a relatable guy. I've got a hoodie on. I'm sitting at home in Chester County, and I'm about to get my hair cut this afternoon. So,
and you do regular things. How go about that?
I do regular things, yes. I even showered this morning before the show.
Well, thank goodness, although we're not in the same room, so it's okay.
We don't have smell-o-vision yet, so that's okay.
Yeah. So, Bearj, tell us a little bit about your background, your regular, everyday guy kind of background.
Sure, absolutely. So I grew up just outside of Philadelphia, and I never knew what I wanted to do. I had zero clue. My mother was always telling me about new jobs that there were, and she was constantly bringing me the Help Wanted section of the newspaper. And I eventually went to Temple University for music education. I graduated from Temple. I still wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do in education, but I fell into a job as a high school band director at Marple Newtown High School, which is just down the road from where I grew up. And I did that for 13 years. I would say that in those 13 years, that was when I grew up. During those 13 years, that was probably the time of my life that was the greatest education for me because I learned from my students. I learned more during that time than I did in any other 13 years of my life. All of my students were constantly giving me feedback, and in the first couple of years, I didn't want to listen to their feedback, but I eventually realized that maybe these kids have something to offer. Because I realized at the beginning, I've got all of the high achievers in the band. I've got all the kids who are in every activity, every sport. They're in the band. They're achieving every single day. And I realized I was overmatched. Maybe I should listen to them. And in addition to that, I had one of their parents who was very big into personal development come to me one day and handed me a book called The 1 Minute Manager. And when I read that book, it opened up the world of personal development for me. And I began to read and learn and deliver my message to my students in a different way. And I started to listen in a different way and realized that it was more about what I could do for them rather than what they could do for me. Because when you first start, you're young, you're excited, you've got this big position as a high school band director, and there's some ego that is attached to that. And as you know as well as I, the less ego you have involved in something, the better you are, the more you can achieve, the more you make yourself about other people. As Zig Ziglar said, the more people you help get what they want, the more you get what you want. And I learned that during that time.
So let me stop you there for a second, because, you know, the topic of our show is Take Back Time. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about, that simple thing. The 1 Minute Manager helped you to listen in a different way and to be more focused out on other people and kind of, let go of the ego. How can that help somebody to take back time? Because they're thinking, get to the point. Like, I'm here for take back time. Tell me how I can use this. So let's relate it so that they get really clear how they can use this.
And it's really simple, because when you do things the right way, your life is more efficient. When you stop doing the things that are not going to work and you start doing the things that do work, life becomes more efficient and you can achieve your goals faster. And the kinds of things I talk about aren't how to organize your day. So during the day, this is when you open your emails and this is when you have your meet. I'm not talking about that type of thing. I'm talking about big picture organizational things in your mind and in your heart, so that you know what it is you want and you know the activities you need to take to get there. So that book helped me to stop doing the things that were slowing me down and start doing the things that were speeding me up, and stop doing the things that were slowing down the progress of my band and start doing the things that were going to accelerate their progress, my students' progress and my progress, because their progress was my progress.
So give us an example, right, so that people can really relate to what that means. So you changed your way of being, and you said you wanted to stop doing, some of the things that were slowing down. So what was one or two things that were slowing you down?
So let me tell you what my goals was first, so that it makes sense, because you've always got to have a goal in mind. You've got to have a target in mind for where you want to go. So one of my goals was to achieve a specific level of musicianship and to be able to, for example, in a marching band season, to win certain awards, to be able to get a certain rating. And that's what we did back in those days. We were looking for this rating called a superior rating. That meant we were performing at our top level. And that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be able to consistently have my band get those ratings, because that meant we were achieving at a high level. And I don't know if you can see, can you see that trophy right there?
Yeah, is that it?
This one right here. Yeah, well, this is called the Esprit de Corps Award. And that was the other side of what my goal was to get an award like that someday, which meant that not only were we achieving at a high level of musicianship, but we were achieving at a high level of individualship. And I don't mean in a musical way. I mean, this is Esprit de Corps, so it has everything to do with who we are as people. And when we achieved that award, that was actually my last year that we got that award. That, to me, that was the ultimate thing, because I was teaching them how to be better people. And that showed that they were better people and that they were great musicians at the same time. So those two things in conjunction were my goal. And we were able to achieve that. We got the musicianship thing first. This eventually came along with it as well. But
so what did you have to stop to get there, right? Because like you said, we all have, let's just relate it back. We all have habits right now,
right,
that we know if we look at the goal that we've set for ourselves, like you said, that we know that we're not doing what it takes to reach that goal, and that we're going to have to change something. We're going to have to stop doing something, and we're going to have to start doing something else. And I know that that's easier said than done, but let's just hear, what did you have to stop?
For me, there are two types of people in the world. There are leaders and there are managers. When I started as a band director, I was a manager. I was telling people what to do. I was pushing and I was pulling.
Mm-hmm.
When I became a leader, then what I did is, I believe leaders do this. Leaders create a vacuum behind themselves that pull people in behind them, and then they can lead them. So when I became a leader, I, at that point, was able to allow my students to step into leadership roles as well, because I wasn't threatened by that. My students began to step into leadership roles and also imitate the way I was leading. And because of that, that culture infiltrated the entire band. And I could accomplish things so much easier because I didn't have to tell anyone what to do. They naturally did the right things because they were following what everyone else was doing. And it made it a really simple way to progress forward. And I literally would start my rehearsals with, I would be up in the band room as my students got there. They got their instruments. They went down to the football field, and I was the last person down there. And when I got down there, they were already on the football field rehearsing.
Right. I
didn't start it. They started it.
Right. That's awesome. And I just want to relate to the entrepreneurs who are listening out there. If there's even a hint of, I don't know, that works for you in the band world. It's the same thing, right?
Yeah.
When you're running your business and you are, a micromanager, so to speak, and you're, on top of people and you're doing it all yourself, you're not optimizing the way that you're doing things. You're really slowing yourself down. And when you give yourself permission to let go and let others lead, then and really bring their creativity and empower them to be those leaders, and you set the vision, and you help them to remove obstacles that are in their way and keep them moving forward.
Right.
Like you said, you're going to achieve much greater levels, for you entrepreneurs in your business, because you're doing things, it's easier. You're kind of in the flow, and you're stopping those behaviors.
Everyone's of like mind.
Yeah.
Everyone's of like mind by that point. Yeah.
Right. Because they can get behind you, right? Otherwise it's like a dictatorship, and then it's not a team.
Absolutely. It's actually, I think, easier in business because with the band, every year I had a new set of leaders because the leaders that I had graduated, and then I had a new set of leaders. So there had to be a culture throughout for that to be consistent from year to year. So in business, you have, I would imagine, less turnover or slower turnover. At least it's not all at once. And it's a lot easier to get the consistency of leadership in a business.
Yeah, definitely. And that being said, is the culture changes every time new people come in.
Yeah.
So you're constantly reinforcing and practicing and creating the culture that you want to have in your business or in your family, in your community, whatever it is, it's all the same.
And what's important, Penny, is, when people change, the culture should change a little bit because the people are different. And I think the leader at the top has to be accepting of that as well. As long as the production is still there, allow that culture, as long as it's positive, to change as well. Maybe you have Taco Tuesdays for 2 years, and then as the culture change, suddenly it's Paleo Thursday, or Paleo Thursday, so who cares, right?
Right, absolutely. And that just brings another point for Take Back Time is that, flexibility will help you to accomplish things faster than being so rigid and having to, do things the exact same way, because it doesn't always, things change and you have to adapt as things change.
I have a story in my book that I think depicts it really well. There was in my second to last year, and we all fall back into that routine of being a manager. I think it's a constant life struggle to not manage people because it's so easy to say, do this because our parents taught us that, right? Do this because I said so. Right. And we're taught that as a kid, so it's ingrained in us to do that. So it was my second to last year. We were going to, it's 1998, I think it was. We were going to Disney World. We're going to march in the Epcot Center parade. If you've ever been there, there's a big lake in the middle and they have that giant globe.
Yeah.
And we had a show stop that we would be performing in front of the globe. And we had this great piece we were doing called Malaguena. We've been playing it since marching season. It was a huge hit in the community. People would literally come to the football games just to hear that song and then leave.
Wow.
The traditional Thanksgiving football game, everyone stayed until halftime, lined the side of the field to watch the band play. They didn't go get hot dogs. They watched the band play Malaguena. Then when we were done, the place emptied out. There was no one left. It was unbelievable. They were there to see that. That's how much of a hit that piece was.
Wow.
So we were playing that as the show stop because it really wasn't something you would play in a parade. We're playing that as the show stop, and we had a march we were doing to march around the lake, and then at the show stop we were playing Malaguena. The problem was my students weren't practicing the march. They were only practicing Malaguena because that's the only thing that they really liked. The march was okay, but they really loved Malaguena, so they were practicing that. Well, as the weeks went on and we got closer and closer and they weren't practicing the march, I began to threaten them. If you don't practice the march, we're not playing Malaguena. And the more I said that, the less they practiced it, and the more I said it, the greater the divide was between us. Until about 2 weeks beforehand, I realized this group of kids who I was so close to just a month or so ago is angry at me. They're carrying a burden on their shoulders. They're upset. They're not doing what I want them to do, and we're not getting anywhere. This isn't working. We had a meeting, which we have all the time before we went on any trip, with the parents, and I decided I'm going to bring my students separate into the band room. So the parents are in the auditorium for their meeting. I brought my students into the band room. I took out all the chairs and we sat on the floor together. And I said to them, I have to apologize, because sometimes you have to do that as a leader.
Absolutely.
I said, I have to apologize. I said, I've been pushing you to learn this march. And the reality is it's my responsibility to teach you the march. It's not your responsibility to learn it. It's mine to teach you. I'm the one who chose it. I'm the one who decided all of this. So I'm the leader, and I'm going to help you in any way that I need to. So whatever help you need, if you want to have one-on-one lessons with me, if you want to have sectional rehearsals with me, if you want to schedule another big rehearsal for us, I'll do it. I'll be there. You just tell me when, where and how, and I'm here to support you because that's my job. And no matter what, we are playing Malaguena, no matter what, because I already decided that as the leader. You could feel the weight lift off their shoulders. From that day forward, they began practicing the march. They never asked me for a rehearsal time. They never asked me to work with sectionals. They figured it out themselves. They did it on their own because I led them there and I told them I have your back. And that's what a leader's job is, to have someone's back. And I did that, and I figured that out in that moment, that I wasn't doing what I had been doing, and it changed the culture immediately, like night and day.
Distractions are the enemy of productivity. Go to distractionquiz.com and find out your distraction profile. Are you a time zombie or a hamster? Take this free distraction quiz today to rate your ability to focus on what keeps you from being a wizard. Go to distractionquiz.com.
A moment.
That's amazing. And you know, that's a really great story. And I just want to relate that back again into, you know, we were talking about habits that, you know, that slow us down. So if we relate it back to that, is that we, you know, go back to old habits sometimes, and we go back into behaviors, or we fall out of what I call the productivity zone from time to time because we get caught up in something that isn't serving us. And so, you know, you did exactly what we get to do, you know, in every context of our life, is to recognize, you know, what's in the gap, what's not working. You took time to reflect and to think about what's not working here, and what's my role in this so that I can help to find a solution. And so the quicker that we can do that is to be aware and take time to reflect, the faster that we're going to be able to shift from an unproductive behavior back into a productive behavior. So I love that, you know, I love that story. And I want to piggyback off that story to, you know, your new book is out, Break Down the Wall, right? And I know you're speaking all over the place in high demand about your book. So, you know, what led you to write this book?
Well, I'd always wanted to write a book, number one. And I had a lot of different ideas and different iterations of what it would be like. And I finally realized, as anyone who's writing a book does, right? That's probably the hardest part, to get that focus. But once I had to focus on what should really be about, and that's helping people, that's how I came up with what I've got now, which is called Break Down the Walls to Success. And I think that everyone wants to be successful, no matter what it is that you do, whether it's being a parent, whether it's being a good neighbor, being successful in school, being successful at your job, starting a new business, being an athlete. It doesn't matter what it is you do. You want to be successful at it. Yeah. And I think a lot of people approach success in reverse. We take the action and we tell ourselves, if I take this action and it works, then I'll believe in it and I'll do more. The problem is that's backwards. If you don't believe in yourself, as soon as there is a struggle, and there will be a struggle. That is guaranteed.
Right. There always is.
On any venture, it doesn't matter what it is, there will be a struggle. So if you are taking action without the belief, when you hit that struggle, you'll do this thing we call quit. And the majority of people in the world quit things all the time because they have yet to formulate that belief in themselves, or that belief in their skills, or that belief in their services, or that belief in the relationships that they have. And
possibility, right? Belief in possibility.
Absolutely. So to me, you've got to build belief. So my book is about the 3 pillars of success in a specific order: believe, decide, and then act. And, you know, we talk about time, and a lot of people think fast when we talk about time, right? We've got to do this quickly. That means I've got to move with speed. To me, it's about the shortest distance between 2 points. It's not about the speed. It's about efficiency. Yeah. So when you do things in an efficient way, you get to your result quicker. You might feel in the beginning, if you're taking action, that you're getting there faster, but eventually you're going to quit and you're never going to get there anyway. So I talk about building belief, and belief to me is like the root system of a tree. If you want to grow a strong tree, for example, a redwood that grows hundreds and hundreds of feet tall, you've got to have a strong root system, because that tree has to withstand the weather. So it needs a good support system, and it needs nutrients to grow that tall. So that's what roots do. They grow deep to support you in those times when there's struggle, and they feed you to continue to grow. And that's what belief is all about. It's about reading the right materials. It's about getting around the right people. It's about doing those things that create a mindset of success for yourself, that you can achieve things no matter what. That if the hurdle comes in front of you, that you can get past it by going around it, over it, under it, or through it.
I love that metaphor.
You can get to the other side, right? So you've got to build belief first. In my book, the first almost half of the book is about building belief. There are 3 sections, and that's the biggest section of the book. And then making a decision, because I think people today don't decide things, they try things.
Before you go there, let's, it's the biggest section because without belief, you are going to end up in a place of self-sabotage, right? Like you said, you take action, but you're going to quit, or you're going to find a way to, if you don't believe that it's true or possible, then there's some sort of sabotage that's going to go on in the background that's going to break down, right? Whatever it is that you're creating. So, or it's going to build up a wall, right? Whichever. So if you're talking about break down the wall, right?
You're either building the wall taller or you're breaking it down. One or the other. There's no in between. It doesn't just sit there. You're either building it taller or you're breaking it down.
Right. So I'm understanding that these are ways that we break down the walls, right?
Yes. Is
by really starting to believe in ourselves and the possibilities and so forth. So that's awesome. So then you were going to talk about decide.
Right. So decide, and I love metaphors. I'm a very visual person and I love metaphors. So you've got the root system of the tree. Decide is that big trunk that's coming up out of the ground. And what decide means is you take the last 4 letters of the word decide, C-I-D-E. Mm-hmm. It's the same 4 letters that end pesticide. It's the same 4 letters that end homicide. It means to put an end to something.
Okay.
So decide, to make a decision, means the old you is no more and there's a new you. The way you thought before does not exist any longer. You don't go back in that direction. You've decided something else. You've decided you're going to open a Pilates studio. So you don't try to do it. You've decided to do it. There's a difference between those 2 things. But the problem is most people use those words synonymously. They say decide, but what they really mean is I'll try it. And if it's too hard, I'll stop because it's okay if I stop. All of my enabling friends will say, it's okay. They'll pat me on the back and say, as long as you tried, that's all that mattered. Let me ask you this question. For those of you who are watching, how would you feel if you got up on an airplane and when the flight got above about 10,000 feet, the pilot got on and said, hello, ladies and gentlemen, this is your pilot speaking. We're above 10,000 feet. Please keep your seatbelt fastened. However, if you need to get up and use the restroom, you're free to do that. There will be cocktail service in the aisles by the flight attendants. And when we get to Los Angeles, I'm going to try to land the airplane. How would you feel about that?
That gives me a lot of confidence.
I'm looking for a parachute, right? I'm looking around. Is anyone else here a pilot that can actually fly this plane and land it? Because you're expecting this pilot will put the plane in the air and land it safely. You're expecting nothing less. And if you expect that of someone else, why don't you expect it of yourself for your own life?
Absolutely. Well, and I also think that when we decide, right, from my perspective, I actually wrote a chapter that decision making is the heart of productivity.
Yes.
Because it moves us forward. It actually, think about the times when you have to make a decision.
Procrastination, right?
Yes, right. So it also removes perfectionism. So, the 2 of them are outside of the productivity zone where we're over-functioning or under-functioning, and they're all impaired decision-making because, we want to overanalyze something because we're, if we make the decision to submit it, then we're going to be judged or it's not going to be good enough. And so we're just going to keep working it, or we avoid it altogether and don't decide, right? And don't move forward at all. So it's deciding is a driver of moving us forward into a distinct, deliberate direction. And as you said, it cuts, I'm not going here, I'm not going here, I'm going here. And it's very clear. That's not to say that you can't reflect in 3 months or 6 months with new feedback that you've received and decide, to make another change, but you're in that way forward. And I can tell you just from a personal perspective, when I wasn't sure if I was going to get divorced or not, I wasn't in decision, that indecision was so stressful. It creates so much stress on us, and in various different contexts in your business, when you're not clear and you're not making decisions, you're stressing other people. You're passing that stress along, as if it's like secondhand smoke. And so, deciding really frees you up to create more focus, more clarity, and more direction.
Absolutely. And, you talked about making new decisions. It doesn't mean you're changing what your goal is. So understand that changing your decision doesn't change your goal. Your goal is your goal. Right. If your goal is to open a Pilates studio, that's still your goal. You may find that, the the place I wanted to open it is not the right place, or the timing is incorrect, or I've got to find new people to work with, or I've got to design the studio differently. So your goal is still your goal. The path you get there is maybe a little bit different. And I'll use that same example of a plane flying. If you're flying from Philadelphia to Los Angeles on a flight, when the pilot sets the course, there could be certain things that happen that cause him to change, or she, to change the direction that they're flying to Los Angeles in and make some diversions. And that's okay. They may even need to land at some point before they get there. That's happened, I'm sure, to a lot of people. It's happened to me. You may have to land first and then fly again. That's all okay to do, but your goal is still your goal. Your goal hasn't changed. You haven't changed your mind with that. You have stayed singularly focused on that goal, but your path to get there may change.
Yeah, exactly. You're adapting to feedback, right? Heavy winds might be a form of feedback. Someone has a heart attack in the plane. That might be, why you have to land. It might be some feedback, different feedback that happen in the environment around us. So that's decide. So let's tell them about the last part, and then we're going to have to wrap up.
So act. One of the chapters, chapter 26 in my book, it's called Act Like You Don't Know What You're Doing. And I think for a lot of people, that's counterintuitive. And here's what I mean by that. When you are taking action, it's important to be able to take the right actions. And this falls right into line with being productive. Act like you don't know what you're doing. So if you don't know what you're doing, what are you going to do? You're going to ask for help. So meet people, talk to people who have been there and done that already. Tony Robbins says, if you want to be successful at something, find someone who's already done what you're doing, do the same thing as them, and you'll have the same results. So act like you don't know what you're doing and follow the same patterns, the same ideas, the same concepts that other people have, so that you can do the same thing that they've done because they've already done it.
Right. He says success leaves clues, right? So follow the clues. Take the breadcrumbs. Why should you recreate the wheel when the path already exists?
Exactly.
Absolutely.
100%. Yeah.
I love that. It's a great, great book, and I highly recommend that everybody get it. We're going to be doing some book club books as part of this. So we may do a follow-up session, Bearj, if you're open to that, where we open it up to other people who have read the book and that we can actually talk about it. So
that'd be great.
We'll schedule that for one of the upcoming months.
Can I tell people how to get it?
Absolutely. Let's tell them.
Sure. If you go to successbook31.com, successbook31.com, you can get the book right there. It's not available on Amazon. It comes directly from me. I actually will sign.
Is that it? I have it. Successbook31.com.
That's it. Successbook31.com. Yeah, thank you for flashing it up on the screen. Wow, look at that.
I know, right? I'm so technologically advanced.
I know, right? But if you go there, it comes directly from me. I actually will sign and personalize every book too.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So great. Well, thank you.
Can I say real quick who this book is really for?
Yes.
So this book is for people it's really great for people who are in the beginning stages of entrepreneurship, people who are in the beginning stages of personal development. If you're an entrepreneur and you have not been reading personal development books, this is a great book for you. This will teach you the different steps you need to get into the mindset of positivity. It's called, right here, if you see, it says 31 steps to transform yourself and your career into the life you deserve, because there are generally 31 days in the month. You can read one chapter in just a few minutes every single day, apply that chapter on that day, and over the course of a month, change your outlook, change your sense of your mindset, change your attitude, change yourself from being negative to being positive, change yourself from being unproductive to more productive. And
absolutely.
It can be that simple.
And that's why you're here. Let's face it. Yes. You're on this show, right? Because this is Take Back Time. So you listeners are here because you want some tips, some tools, some strategies so that you can, be more efficient and effective in everything that you do, so that you can, have more time to do the things that you love, to make a greater impact in this world, to spend more time with the people that you want to be with, doing the things that you want to do. And so we thank you for being here. Thank you, Bearj, for being here. It is always a pleasure. We always have a good time when we interview, and I'd love to have you back to really have a question and answer session with people around the book.
I'm still waiting for that time when the band plays me on. I'm still waiting for that.
Yeah, well, I was hoping that we'd have like a band fair, to end the show here. All right, thank you, Bearj, and thank you all for being here, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Thanks, Penny.
This is Penny Zenker. Take back your time.
Thank you for listening. Today's topic is another opportunity for you to put the knowledge you learned into practice. Tune in again next week for more strategies that will help you have more energy and focus to get more done in less time, so you can continue to take back time.